This isn't a coincidence, it's a subtle game of manipulation. And today, you'll learn to spot the moves before checkmate. The first mistake we make is expecting manipulation to be loud. We look for the screaming matches, the thrown plates, the obvious betrayals. But the most dangerous form of manipulation isn't a sudden explosion. It's a slow, quiet leak of poison. It doesn't target your body or your wallet first. It targets the very thing that makes you you, your perception of reality. The battle is won or lost in your mind long before you ever see the signs in the real world. And the first weapon she deploys is the most insidious. It's a tactic psychologists call gaslighting, but you'll know it as the fog of doubt. It's the art of making you question your own mind, your memories, your sanity. It starts with small, almost trivial denials. You remember a conversation clearly, where you were, what was said, but when you bring it up, she looks at you with a mix of pity and confusion and says, "That never happened." You're remembering it wrong again. The first time you brush it off. Maybe I am mistaken, you think. But then it happens again and again. The phrases are the key. They sound like concern, but they are weapons. You're being way too sensitive. It was just a joke. This isn't an apology. It's a judgment on your reaction. It teaches you that your feelings are invalid, an overreaction. Or the classic, "I think you need help. You seem really unstable lately." Notice the shift? The focus is no longer on her behavior, but on your supposed mental instability. She becomes the calm, rational one, and you're the emotional wreck who can't be trusted. This is a systematic process of eroding your confidence from the inside out. It's like a hacker secretly rewriting the code on a hard drive. Your memories are the files, and she is slowly corrupting them, one by one. Over time, you stop trusting your own intuition. You second-guess every decision. Before you bring something up to her, you rehearse it in your head, trying to find a way to phrase it that won't trigger the accusation that you're crazy or making things up. You start walking on eggshells, not in your home, but inside your own mind. That's the goal. Because if you can't trust yourself, who are you forced to trust? Her. She becomes the anchor for your reality, a reality she gets to define and control. And once she has you questioning your own mind, it becomes incredibly easy to deploy the second, devastating tactic. This is where she solidifies her power and absolves herself of all responsibility, forever. This is the blame shift, also known as the art of playing the perpetual victim. In a healthy relationship, responsibility is shared. In a manipulative one, it is a hot potato, and you are always the one left holding it. No matter what happens, no matter what she does, it is somehow always your fault. Let's be specific. She yells at you, calls you names, says things that cut deep. When you later try to talk about how much it hurt, the narrative gets flipped. "I wouldn't have yelled if you hadn't provoked me. See what just happened?" Her action, yelling, is now presented as a reluctant, inevitable reaction to your action. You are the cause. She is just the effect. She has successfully framed her lack of self-control as your fault. Or she lies to you. She gets caught in that lie. Is there an apology? Rarely. Instead, you get a justification disguised as a blame shift. "I had to lie because I knew you'd overreact. I can't be honest with you." The focus is no longer on her dishonesty. It's on your anticipated, and therefore, controlling, reaction. You are now the bad guy not only for being lied to, but also for creating an environment where she couldn't tell the truth. It's a brilliant, cruel-hearted maneuver that leaves you feeling guilty for demanding honesty. This creates a world where you are constantly apologizing for her behavior. You find yourself saying, "I'm sorry," just to end a fight, even when you know you did nothing wrong. You are apologizing for her feelings, for her reactions, for her past traumas. You become the emotional janitor of the relationship, constantly cleaning up messes you didn't make. And every time you do that, every time you accept blame that isn't yours, you reinforce her narrative, that she is the victim, and you are the problem. You are the one who needs to change, the one who needs to try harder, the one who is just so difficult to love. These two tactics, gaslighting and blame shifting, work together to create an invisible prison. One convinces you that the walls aren't real, and the other convinces you that you deserve to be there anyway. This isn't about keeping the peace. This is psychological surrender. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of control will be built. Once your mind becomes a territory she can influence, the next phase of the siege begins. It's no longer enough to control what you think. She must now control what you do and who you see. A manipulator instinctively knows that your greatest defense is perspective, and perspective comes from the outside, from friends who have known you for years, from family who have your best interests at heart. These people are a threat, not because they dislike her, but because they know you. They are your baseline. They can see the changes in you that she has worked so hard to make you believe are normal, and so, they must be neutralized. This brings us to the third sign, a campaign waged not with open declarations of war but with quiet, strategic poison. Subtle isolation. It won't start with a demand like, "You're not allowed to see your friends anymore." It's far too clumsy, too obvious. Instead, it's a masterclass in making your support system seem like a source of conflict. It begins with planting seeds of doubt. After you get off the phone with your brother, she might say with a sigh, "He always sounds so judgmental. Does he not approve of me?" Suddenly, a simple phone call is framed as an act of disloyalty. You're forced into a position of defending either your brother or her, and the conversation is no longer about catching up, but about managing her perceived insecurities. Then she targets your social life. Notice the pattern. The entire week is fine, but an hour before you're supposed to meet your friends for a drink, a fight erupts out of nowhere over something that happened days ago. Or she suddenly feels deeply unwell and needs you to stay home. Or she uses the ultimate guilt trip weapon. "No, you go. Have fun. I'll just stay here by myself. I'm used to it." The words say, "Go," but the tone screams, betrayal. It's a checkmate. If you go, you'll feel guilty the entire time and face her cold disapproval when you get back. If you stay, you've just taught her that this tactic works. Over time, you learn to anticipate the drama. The thought of making plans begins to fill you with anxiety. It just becomes easier not to. You start making excuses to your friends, dodging calls from your family. You tell yourself you're doing it to keep the peace. But that's a lie we tell ourselves. You are not choosing peace. You are choosing to avoid a pre-programmed punishment. You are self-isolating, building the walls of your own prison because she has convinced you that everyone on the outside is a threat to the fragile peace within. And with you isolated, with her now positioned as your primary, or even your only source of validation and connection, she can deploy one of the most primitive and powerful tools of psychological warfare. This is the fourth sign, the punishment of silence. Let's be very clear. This is not about taking a healthy timeout to cool off. A timeout is communicated. It's someone saying, "I'm too angry to talk right now, I need an hour." The silent treatment is a void. It is a deliberate and complete withdrawal of acknowledgement. It is a weapon designed to make you feel worthless and invisible. It's the experience of walking into a room and having her look right through you, as if you are a ghost. It's the texts that are read, but never answered. It's the chilling, empty space next to you in bed. There is no conflict to resolve because in her world, you no longer exist. This tactic is devastating because it triggers one of our deepest, most primal fears, the fear of abandonment and ostracism. On a biological level, being cast out from the tribe meant death. The silent treatment hijacks that ancient panic button in your brain. It creates an unbearable power dynamic. She becomes the gatekeeper of your emotional world. She alone holds the power to end your suffering, and she will not do so until you have sufficiently submitted. And in your desperation to close that agonizing emotional distance, what do? You break. You chase after her. You plead. You text again and again. You review every single thing you said and did trying to figure out your crime. And eventually, you do the one thing she was waiting for all along. You apologize. You apologize for something you didn't even do just to make the silence stop. The moment you do that, the game is over. You have just confirmed her power. You have accepted blame, surrendered your position, and taught her exactly how long it takes, and what pressure is required to make you fold. The silent treatment isn't the absence of abuse. It is the abuse itself. It is solitary confinement, designed to break your will to resist. Together, these two strategies form the bars of your cage. Isolation removes all external support, and silence punishes any move you make toward independence. She has conquered your mind, and now, she has secured the borders of your world. The final stage of the siege can now begin. The demolition of the person living inside those walls. With the walls of your world built and all lines of support cut off, the final phase of the demolition can begin. This is the end game. It's no longer about controlling what you do or who you see. It's about dismantling the very foundation of who you are. A manipulator cannot control a man who has a strong sense of his own worth. So, that worth must be systematically dismantled. This is done not with a wrecking ball but with 1,000 tiny precise cuts. This brings us to the fifth sign, and perhaps the most confusing of all, the veiled criticism, disguised as a compliment. This is the praise that feels off. It's the compliment with a poison pill hidden inside, designed to celebrate and diminish you in the very same breath. It is a masterstroke of psychological manipulation because it's so difficult to confront. After all, she was just being nice, right? Pay close attention to the structure of her praise. Does it stand on its own, or is it always attached to a negative comparison? For example, after you've worked hard on a project at home, she might say, "This looks amazing." See, you can be useful when you actually put your mind to it. The compliment, "This looks amazing," is immediately negated by the implication that you are not normally useful. Or perhaps you get a promotion at work. She'll hug you and say, "I am so incredibly proud of you. I was honestly so worried you wouldn't be able to handle that kind of pressure." She frames her pride through the lens of her previous doubt in your ability. The hidden message isn't "congratulations," it's "you have narrowly avoided failure." This is the language of conditions. Your value is never inherent. It is always conditional upon meeting her shifting standards. "You look so handsome tonight. That shirt is so much better than the faded old things you usually wear." You are not handsome. You are only handsome under these specific approved circumstances. Over time, this drip feed of conditional approval is devastating. You stop trusting your own judgment, your own taste, your own competence. Her voice becomes the dominant voice in your head, the critic that you can never fully satisfy. Your self-esteem is no longer generated from within. It becomes a commodity that you must beg for from her, and she doles it out in tiny, unsatisfying portions. This constant state of feeling not quite good enough sets the stage for the final and most powerful mechanism of control. It is the engine that drives the entire system. It is the sign that explains why leaving feels not just difficult, but chemically, physically, almost impossible. This is the sixth and final sign, the cycle of reward and punishment, also known as the hot and cold treatment. To understand this, you have to forget what you think you know about love and affection, and instead, think about the design of a slot machine. A slot machine doesn't pay out every time you pull the lever. If it did, it would be boring. It also doesn't never pay out. If it did, you'd walk away. A slot machine is addictive because it pays out on an intermittent, unpredictable schedule. You never know when the next jackpot is coming, so you keep pulling the lever, fueled by the memory of the last win. This is the model for the manipulative relationship. The hot phase is the jackpot. This is the reward. It's the love bombing you experienced at the beginning. It's the periods of intense affection, where she makes you feel like the most important person in the world. She's thoughtful, she's loving, she's supportive. She is the woman you fell in love with. Your brain is flooded with dopamine and oxytocin. It feels incredible. This phase is crucial because it's what you become addicted to. Then, without warning, comes the cold phase, the punishment. For no discernible reason, she pulls away. She becomes distant, critical, and dismissive. The affection is withdrawn. This is the silent treatment, the nitpicking, the veiled criticisms, all rolled into one. Your brain, which was just enjoying a chemical high, now goes into a state of intense withdrawal and panic. What did I do wrong? How do I fix this? How do I get the hot version of her back? You spend all your energy trying to solve the puzzle. You apologize, you change your behavior, you walk on eggshells, and then just as unpredictably, when you are at your lowest point, she turns hot again. The reward returns. The relief you feel is so intense, so powerful, that it feels like love. But it is not love. It is the relief from pain. You have become addicted not to her, but to the cycle itself. You are a gambler at a slot machine, desperately pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot of affection to make the pain of the losses go away. This is the essence of a trauma bond. It is the glue that holds the entire prison together. making you believe that the intermittent moments of reward are worth the consistent emotional cost, all while the foundation of your self-worth is systematically being demolished. Identifying these signs is the first step, and believe me, it's the bravest of all. But simply knowing isn't enough. The manipulator counts on you being paralyzed, unsure how to react. There's a psychological technique called steel frame that breaks this cycle of power instantly, without the need for arguments or direct confrontation. It's about how a single sentence can turn the entire power game in your favor.